This is Amanda Craig, and I am from Henle Latin Helps, and I'm going to show you how I use my files in my own homeschool. This is my website, and here's my website, henlelatinhelps.wordpress.com. And there's some confusion on all the different types of files that I have, so I just thought that I would go over how I organize each of the ones that I use. The third link down, Challenge A Henle Latin Helps, is where you would find most of my documents for Challenge A. If you keep scrolling, there's one for Challenge B and one for Challenge 1. Okay, so the first thing you're going to need is you're going to need the actual Henle book. So this is the blue Henle Latin grammar book. That's where all your grammar rules are going to be in your assignments. This should have a purple cover on it. This is your Henle Latin 1 book, and as you can see, I lost the cover. So if you do get it spiral bound at Office Depot, I suggest that you get a couple of clear plastic covers to go on the top if you think your children will abuse them. The third thing you're going to need is an answer key. This is the Seton answer key. It's actually not my favorite. The white Henle key is my least favorite. This one is actually okay, but you know, it's a little hard to read. But at $6, it does the job. But if you do use my Challenge A exercise workbook, I do have an answer key for that. I don't actually print it out because it's the same length as the workbook, but I just pull it up on my computer when I grade my child's work. I don't have an editor, so I would at least get some other answer key because sometimes my answer key is going to be wrong, so I would use a different one. But the Seton answer key also frequently has mistakes. The one that I recommend, which I don't have laying out here, is the Memoria Press Teacher's Manual or Teacher's Guide. It's purple. It's called Teacher's Manual, Teacher's Guide. It's $25. Not only does it have the answers in a very clear, laid out manner, but it also has like these little like chalk. It's called Chalk Talk, and it helps explain the Latin. So it's a really nice book. Okay, so this is actually Challenge B, but this is what would be called my Challenge A exercise workbook, and that's literally all it is, are the exercises. So it's got the Henle sentence that you would translate, and then it would have some blank spaces for them to write the answer. You can see my son kind of has big handwriting, so that's why the Latin workspace didn't work for us, because he didn't have enough room to write the answers. In some places I have spaces for them to do the diagramming as well. So that's all it is. And it's set up by, you see right here, it says S1 week 2. That means semester 1, week 2. All my files right now say 2019, 2020, but they haven't really changed the guide, so this should still work for you to do. Okay, the other thing, and I think this is where people start to get a little confused, I have a 3-ring binder for my Challenge A grammar notebook. This says semester 1, but it'll be for the whole semester, for the whole year actually. So the reason why I use a 3-ring binder, and eventually there'll be tabs in here, they'll say like 1 through 15, is that this is kind of like my essential, I equate this to being like my essentials charts, and so I actually kind of add to it throughout the year based on what I think my child needs practice on. So it's a combination of 2 documents. The first document on my website is called the Challenge A Grammar Notebook, and that notebook includes all of the rules that are assigned. So like this is grammar semester 1 week 1, and here are all the rules, including these gender rules down here. And then I have a practice sheet for them to practice the rules, copying all the rules. I make my child do this at least once. So this would be like the first day of the week, he would copy all the rules, including these gender rules. But on other days, that's where I get into the grammar chart book, which are more like your essentials charts. It's like the main chart. So here's noun cases and first declension nouns, and here's a place for him to write that. So I might actually print this like 2 or 3 times, and every single day he would do this chart. And I might tell him to do it like with different vocabulary words, because the model is Terra, but he could actually do this with porta or nata, any of the vocabulary words. So now, the reason why I don't spiral bound this is because this is practice, this is for week 1, but I might actually pull out this chart later in the year just for him to review it. So when we get into week 6, he might have to do his week 6 charts, but I might also add in the practice chart for week 1 or week 3. So that's kind of how I do. So they've got the master charts, which are here in blue, and then they've got the purple charts. So you could make a book of just all the master charts, because in the file, all the master charts are first, and then the practice charts come after them. So you could make a thing of master charts, and then just print off the practice charts as you need them, as you want them to copy it. So this is a little more work because the parent has to put it together, but so you could just print all the master charts and all the grammar notebook rules and not worry about assigning different charts. That you could always just say, you have to copy the rules every time, and you have to copy this practice chart every time, or you have to practice it twice, or so you could do it that way and then not really work, like fully load up this book in a 3-ring binder or in a spiral notebook, and then just not even worry about assigning it. That's probably what I should do because I end up forgetting about assigning it. So the third thing that I have is my Challenge A director did this. This is our brain, and it has tabs for every single subject: general, Latin, rhetoric, and so this is where all the miscellaneous papers went. So in our cartography, I've got my geography dictionary. Under science and research, I have my anatomy terms. Under Latin, I have, like, she would give them handouts, so it always has blank paper for him to take notes in class. And then some of these papers are ones that she gave him in class. And then if I found anything on the internet that I liked, my Latin, like a conjugation chart or a declension chart that I would want him to be able to reference in class, that would go in this notebook. It's great for being able to reference things in class. So for this notebook of my Latin files on my website, what I would put in is, I have a Latin assignment sheet, which isn't totally in the guide, and you can totally use the guide, but I just have it broken down a little bit differently. Like I have it by day, and which exercises to do, and which grammar rules to do, and then I have the flashcards like broken out by different days. So I stick this in his notebook for him to look at. And then the other thing that I put in his notebook is I have 2 different files. I have I have vocabulary by week that he can look at. So that's what we started with. But then later in the year, I made a Challenge A Latin dictionary, which I actually like more because it's done by declension. So it's got the first declension words, the second declension words, and by conjugation, like for the verbs. Because I don't know how helpful it's kind of helpful to have it by week, I guess. But then, like, if you're looking at a word, you're not going to know what week it is. So maybe this would be good for, like, general review. Like, each week you could just review the words on paper versus your note cards. I'm not really quite sure. But so all that to say is I have 2 different vocabulary things that you could use to put in this general notebook. Because they don't really fit in the grammar notebook or the exercise notebook. So that's why they go in the general notebook. So those are the files that I use and the way that I set them up. And then there's some other things on my website. I have weekly videos that I'm trying to put together for you guys. There's my weekly guides, which are one mom equated to being the kind of like cliff notes each week. So those are the different things. So that's it. That's how I put it together. If you guys have any questions, feel free to message me on Facebook or my email address is amanda.craig@gmail.com. Thanks. Bye.